Welcome to the Ghost Show online, my fiends, booze, and ghouls. Your hosts, Seika Groves, Rachel Benter, and Ian Russell will discuss all things paranormal. Prepare to be afraid.
Hey everyone, hi, welcome to the Ghost Show, and I'm Seika Groves, and my other host today is...
My name is Ian. Hello everyone.
Hey.
I am a paranormal investigator, a paranormal researcher, and I have about 10 years experience working within the field of the paranormal.
Awesome. And if you guys don't know who I am a paranormal researcher. I'm also a psychic medium, and I'm an archaeologist. So a lot of little things rolled into the package. Unfortunately, our other host, Rachel Bender, is not available to be with us today for this show on Chillingham Castle, but we're really looking forward to welcoming, let's try that again. We're really looking forward to welcoming our guest today, Richard, who is the official ghost guide or ghost hunt guide at Chillingham Castle. And I hope that I got that right. I'm fairly certain that that's what he said. He is the official ghost hunter or ghost hunt guide. So we're really looking forward to the show, and it's going to be a little different today because we're not going to be discussing. We're just going to listen to the great stories that Richard has, and hopefully he will answer some of our questions, because I know that, Ian, you probably have a few questions to ask, and I know I've got a few that I'm interested in asking too.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So stay tuned to the Ghost Show. We'll be right back with this week's guest, Richard from Chillingham Castle. Welcome to the Ghost Show. And for those of you that don't know this, I'm just going to tell you off the top. We had Richard here already, did a fantastic interview with him, but we had a bit of a ghost in the machine situation where things just didn't really go right. Some of them personal error, that'd be me. But we were having issues with microphones and all sorts of things. And Ian can attest to this, that sometimes we just have these strange little issues when we're discussing all things paranormal. So who's to say?
Well, it is a ghost show.
It is the Ghost Show. So Richard, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And we would love to hear about your stories of Chillingham Castle. So as you can see, I've got Chillingham up behind me, and I'm sure you know this place very well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, my name is Richard. I'm the resident ghost hunter stroke paranormal investigator at Chillingham Castle. I run the ghost hunts there, and occasionally I do the ghost tours. The ghost tours are basically a historical journey within the haunted parts of the castle at night. Thing is, when I do a ghost tour, I can't just do a ghost tour. I have to introduce them to a bit of ghost hunting, you see. So when I'm in the castle, I've always got a little box of equipment. I've always got rods, a pendulum, a K2, and a PSB7. You know, that's a given. You know, you never know what's going to happen in this place. It's become hyperactive recently, day and night. It's 24/7 in the place, and it takes so many people by surprise. The hotspot activity time through the day is always about 2:30 in the afternoon. It starts then and goes through till about 5 o'clock. And then they have a little rest.
That's kind of a funny time. I'm only saying that because most of the time we've kind of been brainwashed into believing that the ghosts just come out at night, right? And I think those of us that do this know that they really are around all the time, right? So
this is true. Case in point here, at the weekend, there was an art exhibition on which took over the Great Hall, which is right behind you on that photograph, on the first floor. And on the second day, I went in. I happened to be in the castle, and I walked in the castle long before everybody got there. And I said to one of the artists, I went, "Oh, it's stirred up." I says, "It's going to be an active one." I says, "All this will have confused our resident spirits." And I hadn't got the words out of my mouth, and John, the artist, and I were standing there, and we had disembodied footsteps walk past us. He's going, "What's that? What's that?" I says, "Oh, it's just footsteps." And next thing, we heard this tinkling, chinkling noise, and there was nothing there but paintings. So I says, "Oh, okay then." And I had some rods with me. I says, "Oh, here we are." And it was two of our resident ghosts. One was Douglas, and one was Jamie. I may have talked about them before.
Mhm.
And yes, they were a little worried as to what was going on, so calmed them down a bit. I says, "Oh, they're only here today," and everything was fine. And later in the day, a family came in, and I thought, "Oh, what's going on here? This seems to be a bit odd." I saw a shadowy form by a doorway, and I went down with the rods, and sure enough, I says, "Oh, look, we've got some action," and I asked whatever it was to flash my K2 a couple of times in my hand. This is in front of the family, and it did. I says, "Let's see who this is." I says, "I think it could be Adam." Flash again if it's Adam. Yes. So I switched the PSP 7 on. I switched it on. I says, "Adam, you know me. There's not too much going on here. It's just an exhibition. Nothing to worry about." I says, "Would you like to come and say hello to this family?" And immediately it just came out, and Adam's guttural voice just went, "Hello." I says, "There you go." Switch the PSP
Nice.
7 off, and their faces were a picture.
I can imagine. I mean, it's, you did introduce in the last show that unfortunately we lost to the ether. Can you tell us a little bit about those ghosts? So Jamie, Adam, Douglas, who are
Yes.
they?
Jamie, Adam, and Douglas. Jamie and Douglas were Scottish soldiers that were unfortunately imprisoned in the castle in 1300. Adam was there at the same time. Now, Adam was French, Norman French. He often speaks Norman French on the
Oh,
PSP
okay.
7. Okay. And he has a very sort of almost bad, deep voice, and I think he'd suffered some injury. But he was a French mercenary on the side of the Scots, which wasn't uncommon back then. And
No.
he met his end there, but it would appear that he befriended another spirit called Madeline and another one called Sally.
Oh,
The three of them, there seems to be a bit of a triangular relationship or whatever going through, and it's quite something. But they are always, always, always about.
wow. So that's really interesting. And that's something that, as you were saying, it's sort of 24/7. It doesn't stop. There's no real day or night. If we
No.
were to come to Chillingham,
Mhm.
which I was planning on doing prior to the pandemic, because we had booked a dark history tour that I was actually hosting, and we were planning on spending the night at Chillingham. If we were to come there, what would be some of the things that you would recommend for us to experience in the castle? Are there particular areas or certain entities or spirits that are more chatty or more aggressive, perhaps?
Well, let's start at the top of the castle, the King Edward I room, the top of the southwest tower. Now, this is where King Edward I stayed on his way up to the Battle of Falkirk in 1298 to engage with William Wallace, no less.
Oh,
Now then, this room it can be oppressive. It can be fine 1 minute, not the next. Now then, there's a ghost in there called Key. Now, Key, we've seen him on an SLS camera as well. He
wow.
can't walk. He can't walk. We think he fell victim to the torturer John Sage, so he tends to crawl around the place. His favorite party trick, and it happened to me the other night when I was in there. Shouldn't happen to me, but it did. He likes to both touch and also get a hold of ankles.
Oh,
And sometimes If you're sitting on a bench, it feels as though he's pressing down on your knees to try and get up. And he has prevented people from moving in that position. Sometimes accompanied by a smell that is similar to cabbage soup, something
Oh,
awful
so
like
sort of
that.
sulfury.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just a, you know, not a very nice sort of smell. And another spirit that tears around there an awful lot is young Eleanor, but more of that in just a minute. Adam and Sally frequent that place an awful lot. We have some wonderful poltergeist activity in there. We
Wow.
also get wonderful orb activity. Now, at this juncture, I'm going to talk about orbs. You do not need a camera to see orbs in Chillingham Castle. You'll see them with your own eyes. Now then, Edward the First room is directly above the pink room where the blue boy was found, who's one of our more famous ghosts. He was found, he'd been walled up alive, this young chap, along with some scraps of blue cloth. And people had complained about near the fireplace what looked like blue sparks coming from the fireplace. I've seen these on so many occasions. It looks like a blue sparkler. He often manifests himself in this way, low down, bottom right hand side of doorways, anywhere in the castle. Through the day, especially around 2:30, he can manifest himself as a misty blue form, about 4.5 feet high, and
Wow.
this is quite transparent. But the sparklers turn into sapphire blue orbs. You can see these in the pitch darkness, and it's nearly always in the ceiling of the Edward room where I see these. They're absolutely stunning to behold. They can float around and then suddenly they'll gather momentum. Absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Now this is up in the tower. Now then, on Friday last, on the stairs, one flight down from the room, I was standing there. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and watched a form just walk up the stairs as if he'd done it 100 times. I was, oh, okay. So I went running after it just to make sure it wasn't a real person.
Right, right.
Not a soul up there. I thought, oh, this is good. First thing in the morning, ghosts. So the Edward room is a must. The best thing is to do with that is go up there and sit in it for a good half hour or so, and just give them a call out, see
Wow.
what happens.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you sent us the audio that you had experienced
Yes.
in that room.
Yes.
And it was so clear when I
Yep.
listened to it. And would you mind if we included that in the show for everyone to hear?
Please do, because this audio across the world, this is a game changer. This
Yes.
is, to my mind, the piece. It's untouched, unmolested, the piece of definitive proof of absolutely correct, intelligent responses. That was, I asked the question, you heard the answer, and it
Yes,
was
and
in
it
a
was
very small time frame. It was absolutely bang on. That was, I'll tell you exactly. It was recorded on a Zoom H1 recorder,
wow.
and the device was a PSB7 Spirit box, and the speaker was the lower power music ball speaker that was beside it, and it was 100%. So you know that is a definitive piece of audio in the world of the paranormal. Please use it. It needs to get out there. But I have another great bit of audio as well. I don't actually have it, but we were there. It's recorded because we had some visitors from another paranormal organization.
Okay.
This was in the Great Hall about a month ago, and it was a little while ago. Another person on YouTube, I think it was Brittany Crabb, had done a thing at the castle, and
Okay.
she's Britty 44, of course, and she was asked, there's this malevolent, a real rotten malevolent spirit called Peter, And we think that this Peter took a bit of a dislike, and
Oh,
we switched this. We switched the spirit box on. It was on a portal, and we asked questions around this, and it came out with a name. It just says, it said Britty like
oh,
this,
that's
and we
funny.
all stopped. We were like, "Wow, okay." So, as I say, if I ever get hold of this audio, I'll pass it on. But that was superb.
That's a
But
really interesting thing, because I've had that happen as well. We were doing a seance at a location, an old schoolhouse, and the voice that came through when we were sitting and we were asking questions, we were like, "Who's here?" And we were, sort of going through the motions. And one of the ladies that was with us, she started giggling, and she's like, "Who's touching my hair?" Right? She's like, "Someone's touching my hair." And she's like, "Who is that? Is that you?" And what happened was we got this fantastic response in the voice, very low sort of male voice that went, "Paul." Now, Paul was friends with these people. He was the caretaker at the school at the time, and it was just a small one-room schoolhouse, and they had gone to school there in the 1970s, and they had all scratched their names into the brickwork outside the school. And so just like a really unexpected but very clear response to asking the same type of question. And when you get that, it's so interesting. I know Ian's had experiences as well like that, with his equipment too. It's just, it's a phenomenal thing. So can I ask you a question, Richard? I have a question for you. First of all, I've never been to the castle. So what's in my image here? Is this the inner courtyard area of the castle, or is this the out front?
You are looking from, once you go in the main entrance of the castle, which is in the north wall, it takes you directly into the courtyard. It's as if you've just gone through that entrance and you are looking down the courtyard towards the southern part of the castle, and directly behind you, where the arches are, behind there is the torture chamber.
Oh,
One floor.
okay.
Oh yeah, I've got a good story about that in a minute. And above that, on the next level,
So this
as I
where the
say,
windows
yes,
are?
you see right in where the door is up the
Yes.
stairs.
Oh, okay. Right there. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. That takes you right into the center of the medieval Great Hall, the Elizabethan Great Hall, which is great. You go in there. I always light that up with candles, and it just takes you back 500 years at night. Just whoosh,
It's an amazing looking building. I can't wait to go.
It's but inside the Great Hall, you may have seen photographs. There's arms, armor, swords, all manner of things on the wall, heraldry, the whole lot. Above that, where the other windows are, the long windows are. There we
So
go.
on the
360 windows.
here?
Yeah, on the third level up there. They are the King James I staterooms.
Oh,
and
okay.
these rooms were originally laid out for the state visit of King James VI of Scotland on his way to becoming James I of England and Scotland in 1603.
He's a relative of mine.
Oh, right. That's very nice.
The Stuarts, right? Yeah.
The Stuarts. There we are. Yes.
Yes.
There we go. That's marvelous. But and then to where you're sitting on this side, yes, that side there. Yes, that side. You have the it's actually the tea room, but it's the original Great Hall. It's the minstrels' hall, proper minstrels' gallery, full of heraldry, etc. And beneath that, all sealed up, is the original torture chamber.
Wow. Okay. So let me just ask you. So like we can see all these arches and these entrance ways here, right?
Yes.
So would the original torture chamber have been on sort of that ground level, or was it below ground? Because often we think of, like there's a big hole in the ground and there's like a jail or a prison underneath.
That's right. It was.
Okay.
The castle was originally moated, did have a moat around it. The
Wow.
moats were filled in the mid 1700s. The castle went through an awful lot of development. It saw a lot of action, a lot of turmoil.
Wow.
We're not far from the Scottish border, as
Right,
the crow
yes.
flies. Yeah, very, very close,
Mhm.
very close. And it was the chain of second line of defence for England against the Scots
Okay.
when it
Wow.
was originally founded. Yes.
Mhm.
But yes, the torture chamber, as I say, we have this set out in an undercroft beneath the Great Hall, with all of the original equipment, etc. And it's a sight to behold. And
I guess.
a few weeks ago on a ghost tour, and we were just having a wander around. I had 24 people on the tour. I said, stand there, I'm just going to put the lights out. And I says, don't move again until I put the lights back on again. Okay, then. So for obvious reasons, because there's lots of sharp things, uneven floors, and
Dangerous. Mhm.
yeah, it's dangerous. Yeah, and don't play with anything because it's it's real. And I was standing talking, facing the audience, as it were, and somebody said, "Oh, what's that?" And I spun round, and then here is a full-bodied apparition, 6 feet behind me, and
Wow.
everybody's, "Oh," you know. And then it stayed there for a couple of seconds, and then just melted away. Just then, the REM pod I had standing on the table started indicating. Thought, right, that stopped, and we had hundreds of tiny orbs near the doorway, near the REM
Wow.
pod, and everybody's gasping. And what's this? And a guy says, "Did I miss something?" I said, "Yeah, probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to see this." And the hubbub that was going on was the whole lot was palpable. And two people did
Now,
not.
where was he that he missed this?
22 of the visitors plus me saw this. Two
Mhm.
didn't. The
Oh,
reason they didn't see it was they were actually standing behind the Iron Maiden, which is about 7.5 feet tall, quite wide.
so it blocked their
So
view.
it blocked the view. So after that, everybody was, I think the adrenaline was going with everyone, and
Right.
I was like, this is great. We've just had one appear, and this is, I says, that this is gold dust. I says, the castle is, it really is the haunted Holy Grail. And
Richard, do you think that with the ghost tours coming through, the ghost hunts, do you think that the visitors are actually helping to stir up some of the energy within the castle?
yeah, the thing is, you get a large influx that come in. You get the ones who truly believe and who are desperate to have an encounter of any
Right.
kind. They always, that they hope to see something. I says, well, to see a full form is rare, and the other ones, the ones that come in, profess to be skeptics. But the thing is, a lot of them really kind of believe. They've come along with all their armor on and shields up,
Right.
just, and then something happens, and that's it. The gates open then, and I think a lot of the spirit world kind of picks up on this nervous energy and uses it to their own end.
I
It can
agree.
act as a
Yeah.
it can act as a bit of a focus. You see, they go, "Oh, look at this! Oh, this is radiating off this chap." Right? Okay, we'll see what we can do. And I've had so many evidential happenings lately with skeptics. I put a group of them together, 15 of them together, all together.
15 skeptics in the
15
castle.
skeptics. There was 15 skeptics. There was a whole group, and I says, right, okay, skeptics this way, please. So 15 of them, and I gave them some equipment, including a PSP-7, and I sent them off to the Edward room. I says, I'll come and get you in half or 3/4 of an hour.
Nice.
Seen how we go about this. When I went back, the guy who was lead skeptic, was basically up there holding court and having this amazing two-way with an entity, and we're having a fantastic time. So I stood
Wow.
back and let them get on with it.
Mhm.
And they went, when they went home, they were joyous, they were converted, or maybe not converted, the new old. But
Well,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
but
and I thought this is surreal but magnificent.
mhm.
It
That's
really
awesome.
was.
And
It-
sometimes that's what it takes, it's like, I mean, I'm still, even though I'm an investigator and I'm a psychic medium, I'm still skeptical sometimes, because it's like I'm almost questioning my own ability at that point. I'm like, is this really going, like, am I really hearing this? Am I really seeing this, right? Which is why I like to have another medium or two with me as well on an investigation, because we can kind of validate each other, or at the end of the day, we can say, I didn't get that. Did you get something? And they may have something, a bit like equipment, I guess, right? You have these different pieces of equipment that in some cases, some may pick up on something and some may not. I guess it just depends on the energy output overall. And I think that that's really a good way of looking at it. I know that I've had a conversation in the past with, and I've mentioned it many times, is that, we are just giant walking batteries, and everything around us is energy in the universe. And so even when the physical part of us, dies away, that energy just goes back out into the universe. And I feel like it's, certain people may have that ability to actually feel or connect with that energy. And, whether it scatters in random patterns, I don't know. And we need something like energy from another, or equipment or something to, bring it back together. Or we are together, but we maybe don't have the ability without, like you said, that added energy, that sort of, anxiousness or fear even, or excitedness that comes with, people showing up in a location and bringing all that with them.
That's right. One thing as well that I always advise people, I've been in various houses, and people have talked about things going wrong, and I've had a look, and 9 times out of 10, I've found that they've had a crystal pyramid in the house,
Oh.
a prism, and I says,
Mhm.
remove that from the house. I says, if you can, when you look at what a prism does to light,
Right. Yes, it refracts the light. Yeah.
it just breaks it all up.
Mhm, mhm.
What's that doing with, you know, energy and and other parts of the spectrum that we can't actually see? That's only the visible stuff. And I says, if you get rid of that, it'll help refocus things to a more positive plane.
Exactly.
So that I've always stuck with that. I was told this a long time ago by a very wise person who was very mediumistic, and I've stuck with that. Yes, but if you migrate downstairs and go into the Great Hall, which is adjacent to the chapel, the
Okay.
chapel has become a bit of an epicenter recently. Now then, 3 skeletons were discovered in the chapel, 2
Wow.
beneath the stained glass window in the floor, and one of a little girl in the top corner of the chapel, the southwest corner of the chapel. And this turns out to be Eleanor, 8 years
Oh,
old.
okay.
And Eleanor is the biggest piece of mischief you could ever come across in the spirit world. Stays up late, torments everybody. She loves to pull hair, pull clothes, nip. And if you're
Children.
children, and if you're in the chapel, sitting there, I often do pendulum sessions with people in the chapel, lovely and quiet, you see, sitting on the pews. And if you sat there, she likes to maybe just rub you on the shoulder or draw on your back with a finger. They're the party pieces. Forever coming through on spirit boxes, whether it's a PSB 7, 11, or I've got a Frank's box as well, and comes through on that. But she also loves to interact. I've got two spirit boxes so not spirit boxes, paranormal music boxes. I've got the Paraforce PMB, the coffin-shaped one,
Mhm.
and I've got another one which I built many years ago. I'm an electronics engineer. That's what I do. So I've devised and built many ghost hunting gadgets over the years, and the the older one that works marvelously well. I always have a trigger teddy bear beside it, Mr. Darcy the teddy bear.
Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Yes, Mr. Darcy. The amount of people that wanted to take him home, I says nope. He's a
That's funny.
proper supernatural bear. You know, he's no longer an amateur. He's
He's a
a professional
professional
ghost
bear
hunter.
now.
He's a professional bear now. So he knows the game and brings them through.
Right.
And yeah, but going into the Great Hall, it's quite vast, and there are one area, the southwestern part of the hall, near the old tapestry that's there. We always get a lot of action there, and the corner where the chapel joins the Great Hall, we get a magnificent amount of happenings. And Key often tends to get himself downstairs and torment people there as well by grabbing their ankles and so on and so forth. But it's absolutely fascinating, is all of that. You do get disembodied voices in the chapel. Myself and a colleague some time ago were sat there 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, just with a pair of divining rods. I like using divining rods. He was asking the questions. We were seeing what responses we get, and a disembodied voice just said, "Get out of my house."
Wow.
So we were okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
We might give that a rest for the night. But we've had poltergeist activity in the tea room or the minstrel's hall, which is the next room down from the chapel. And of course, as I explained earlier, full-bodied apparition in the torture chamber. We
Wow.
get a lot of flying orbs in the torture chamber. We do get metal objects moving, and this is classic. Clanking chains. Believe it or not, clanking chains.
Nice.
There's a lot of chains in there. Yeah, which
I love that.
which is always good. It might be a bit Scooby Doo, but
Yeah,
it really does happen.
that's a
Yeah,
lot of fun. If I heard that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I love it, right? Because it's
it's
just that classic sound that you expect to hear in any horror film or ghost movie is the creaking doors and clanking chains.
yeah, creaking doors, clanking chains, knocks as well, knocks and taps.
Mhm.
Are they abound, and if you can give 3 taps and say, can you please respond with 3 taps, and you get 3 back,
That's
that's just
astounding.
that's marvelous. Now then, in an area which you can't see, it's near the front of the castle. We've got the medieval dungeon, proper dungeon with an oubliette, the hole in the floor where once people went down there, they weren't coming out again.
Right.
It was after we opened after COVID. I had 11 people on a ghost hunt, and I took them into the still room, which is just outside of the dungeon. And we're standing talking. It was about 9 o'clock at night, dark, cold, October, and went, listen, really quiet, and there's this soft sobbing coming out of the dungeon, which went on for maybe 20 seconds or so.
Wow.
Stop. Oh, should we go in and have a look? No, it's all right. We heard it. Oh, come on, we'll go and have a look.
I'd be the first person in there. I'm telling you. I'd be like, oh, I gotta go see what this is.
See what this is. Yes. But the funny thing is, the doorway to the dungeon. I as I say, I use a lot of equipment on investigations and hunts. But the one thing I've got is a moving charge meter, and the most active results I have with this moving charge meter. There's two places in the castle. One of them is the doorway leading straight into the dungeon, and
Wow.
the other one is right beside the range fireplace in the minstrel hall or the tea room. Now then,
Oh,
there was a medium who came in the other day. He was on one of my groups, and he had a pair of my divining rods, and he was right at that spot where I where the moving charge meter used to go mad. He's there. He's going, oh, hey, it's bad right here. I said, that's very interesting. And then I says, watch this. And I went and got a REM pod, and I put it. I says, watch this. And I just moved the REM pod a little bit and moved away from it, and the REM pod is going absolutely bananas. I went precisely where you said. This is a paranormal hotspot.
right. Lots of energy there. Mhm.
Lots of energy there. I think it's coming up through the floor, and of course, the dungeon is not too far away, but through a wall. But again, not too far away, maybe 20 feet. But it's incredible what happens in this castle. It really is.
It sounds so exciting. I mean, I can't wait to come and stay overnight and to do all this. And hopefully you'll be there so that we
yeah.
can, we can have some great fun ghost hunting. Let me ask you a question, because I'm sure people are curious. Do people live in this castle today? Like, is there a family? Is there people?
Yes.
Is there apartments? Can I get one?
The castle is privately owned, and
Okay.
the owner and his wife, who is Sir Humphrey Wakefield,
Oh,
they live in the castle on that side of the castle.
So on
Yes, on other way. That's it.
this way. I'm doing the reverse. There we go. On this side of the castle.
Yeah, no, not on that side. On the other side.
Oh, on the other side, because this side is where all of the torture chamber and all of the other things are, correct?
Torture chamber, museum room. The museum room is it's open to the public to walk through, but I was lucky enough to get permission to have a private ghosty in there, and it is screaming with ghosts because it's not being touched.
What was it originally? What room was that? Do you know?
I don't. I think it was just general accommodation. It's a later room, but core, is it haunted? Is it haunted? That room there, about 10 years ago, if not a little bit more, possibly a little more, myself and a friend, we using divining rods and a Sony Hi8 camera on night vision. We had a ghost. We followed it. We saw it. This was going to be like bang to right. This is incredible. We actually had it pretty much cornered. And I turned around and I says, "This is magnificent. This is going to be world famous, So we hurriedly went to play it back, and the tape's all crinkled, and it's the only time that.
Oh no!
Oh,
Hi-8 tape.
That happens.
So you talk about Ghost in the Machine. It was like it didn't want to be located, and I needed to get back in there, and I was in there, and from the get-go, it went absolutely bananas. I had REM pods in the doorways.
So they were screaming.
They were going mad. I had other devices. I modified some K2s with audio, and I've got other devices as well. I built an electronic Ouija as well, which is pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But as I say, tonight the other thing I've reintroduced are automatic writing planchettes.
Mm-hmm. Those are fun.
They are fun. I'm going to be using one of those tonight.
Wow! So you're doing a ghost hunt tonight or a tour?
It's a tour, but they don't know yet. It's going to be.
They don't know yet. It's going to be a ghost hunt.
They don't know yet, and they're going to be hopefully, yes, suitably scared.
Oh yes. Well, I can't wait to hear. I hope we can have you back on again in the future so you can give us some more details. And hopefully by then I'll have been able to visit as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
abs-
I'm looking forward to that. That would be great. One thing I did want to ask is just for people who aren't familiar with Chillingham, can you tell us a little bit about where it's located in the UK? Because as you said, it is pretty close to the Scottish border, but also what its purpose was way back when it was first constructed.
Okay, it's located in Northumberland in England. It is it's located between the town of Wooler and Bamborough.
Okay.
It's pretty much alongside the it's not far from the River Till. Now, this was a very important building during the first Scottish Wars of Independence. So the castle itself became a fortification. There was a manor house on site, which was wrecked by William Wallace in 1296. So after a rebuild, it had added fortifications and grew from there. So you're talking 1297 onwards.
800 plus years ago.
Yes, 800 plus years ago, and it grew and grew and grew from four standing towers with adjoining walls in between, and it got its license to crenellate, which was to fully fortify, which was granted by Edward III to Sir Thomas de Heaton in 1344. And that's when it began to turn into a major fortress. Wow. And it was in the second line of defence for England from the Scots, along with Bamborough Castle, Etal and Ford castles. The primary castles being not too far away on the Scottish border along the River Tweed, which were Berwick, Norham on Tweed and Wark on Tweed. Wow. And the main sort of garrison of men populating this was at the very large Alnwick Castle, maybe 13 miles to the south. Okay. And then after the Union of the Crowns in 1603, it was only then did things in the area begin to calm down a little, and everybody was a little bit more given to, a bit of peace and quiet and negotiation. Yes. As they used to say, better suaviter in modo than fortiter in re.
Yes.
And basically the defensive walls were opened up to provide doorways and windows, because beforehand those piercings were only got light in from the courtyard area.
Right.
It was
very dark.
It would be really dark, really gloomy, but it served a major defensive purposes. Northumberland, even back to Roman times, was always about defense. There's more castles and strongholds per square mile in Northumberland than anywhere else in the world.
That's an interesting thing, right? Like for myself as an archaeologist, what I found interesting was I actually have a degree in battlefield archaeology. So I've spent a lot of time looking at a lot of the battles that took place, and especially between, Scotland and England, but even at the time of the Romans, moving, up and building Hadrian's Wall because they were afraid of, the tribes that were north. There's such interesting notes in Roman writings about them encountering, the Scotties and the Picts and different tribes at the time, and just, not sure what to make of them. So, we know that of course, at this period of time, we start to see even what we would consider today, minimal fortifications, but at those times they would have been, very, very necessary, right? Even Hadrian's Wall was necessary at that point. But an interesting thing, and maybe our viewers and listeners might know, is Bamburgh Castle. Is this not the castle that Uhtred of Bebbanburg in the television show is supposed to have been in his family? Is this not the same?
I believe it is, because it was first found. Bamborough got its name a long time ago and the castle was founded either for or by Queen Bebe, and before it was Bamborough, it was Bebbanborough.
Eggenberg, yes, Bebbanburg.
Bebbanborough.
Yes,
Bebbanborough.
Bebbanburg, yes.
It looks like Berg, but it's
It's
up
Borough,
here.
yeah, like
Borough.
Borough.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Edinburgh. Mhm,
like Edinburgh. It's spelled the same way as Edinburgh,
that's right.
which of course is only Edinburgh is about 65 miles from
Not too
Chillingham,
far. Yeah.
so it's not far at all. But the other thing you're on about the Romans is the sort of the Roman road north, the main road north, was a road that got the title the Devil's Causeway.
Yes.
And that runs very, very close to Chillingham. And the old Roman roads are what William Wallace used to use on his raids south.
Coming across the border.
The border.
Yes,
The border.
Yes. into England, essentially. But such a fascinating history. I mean, really, the castle itself, it looks like everything that we want it to look like in terms of a castle when we think of an old medieval castle. The other thing is that it's still standing. And it's still occupied. Has it been occupied the entire time? Was there ever a period that it was empty?
It was empty between 1932 and 1982.
Oh, okay. So like a 50-year period, but not.
But before that,
no.
It was absolutely constantly occupied. Yes, it was
That's
following
amazing.
Yes, but so a 50-year period where it was left. It was a billet for soldiers in World War II for a time, but after that, it was left. And then, of course, Sir Humphrey acquired it in 1982 and set about an absolutely top-class restoration.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's wonderful. I mean, everything. I mean, there's beautiful gardens. The scenery around it is fantastic. It's just the archetypal English castle.
Yes,
it
English
looks right.
castle.
It looks right. It's in surrounded by beautiful countryside. Absolutely haunted to pieces.
And that's the best part of it for me. But has it ever been used in any television or film work or anything before? Yes. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder if they've had any experiences when they were on site. That would be an interesting thing.
Yes, television wise, they did. In actual fact, this is there's a television show that's been running a long time over in this country called Most Haunted.
Oh yes, I know it well.
Yes, with Yvette Fielding.
Yes, and Derek on the show. Yes, before he passed.
Yes, I recorded a podcast with her some weeks ago, and we talked about Chillingham, and the second ever Most Haunted was actually filmed at Chillingham.
Nice.
And she had the living bejeebers scared out of her just outside the door between the torture chamber and the minstrel's hall or tea room.
I do believe I remember vaguely that episode. I'll have to go back and catch it again on YouTube or wherever I might find it. But that was one of the original paranormal shows that sort of kicked it off for everyone.
That's absolutely right. Yes, and she ran off screaming in heedless terror in the dark. Yes, also there was a film made in 1997, I think, called Elizabeth, about Elizabeth I, starring Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett. So they used Chillingham?
They used Chillingham. There's still some relics of the filming left within the castle. We kept it, and sort of a doorway and two fireplaces that the film crew installed, which look wonderful. And that was, I believe, Chillingham was used partially as Leith Castle during the filming.
Okay. Wow, interesting. I mean, like we said, it is kind of that archetypical, amazing medieval fortress style castle that you want to see in television and film, but just to even see it, I think in real life is probably even more astounding, because I don't think we really get an appreciation. You know, we see photographs, we kind of see it, but when you're standing, like you said, in the courtyard or inside the building, and you can really feel, whether you're perceptive or not, you can really feel the history that's gone on in a location, and the fact that it has been continuously occupied for the majority of that 800 plus years. And, you know, so when you talk about the activity in there, you can only imagine how many thousands of people have gone through or stayed or been on the grounds of this castle over the years. And just the residual energy alone must be through the roof. Like, just I can't wait to come. Like, honestly, I can't wait to come there and just experience it, because I've for many years been sort of following little things on Chillingham, and like you say, the first, you know, Most Haunted, their shows, and all of the really neat locations that they were able to go and see. And this was one of the memorable ones. I do remember the Great Hall as well in on that show. So a really amazing opportunity for folks. And if anybody's going to the UK for a vacation or visit, take the time to go up to Northumberland, because it's really beautiful up there. And I know that a lot of people don't really go in that direction, but as you said, it has so much to offer in terms of great old castles like Chillingham. But to go to Chillingham itself and take a tour with Richard, or go on a ghost hunt if you dare.
Yes, we do organize private ghost hunts for people.
Yes,
as well.
that was what I was going to do, was a private investigation.
Private ones. They are quite special, especially if you have a group of people who are either related or they know each other. They've been, you know, together a long time. You got this wonderful ball of energy that, you know, it's just
right.
there.
They gel together. They kind of know each other. And I think that's a lot of fun. Like when you're investigating too, it's really great to have people that you are familiar with, because then it's a lot easier to work with that person, because you sort of know what your expectations are. You kind of know how they react, etc. And it does make things better, but it also does bring a more cohesive energy to the picture. And I've always found that it helps to ramp up the activity, because I think when you have a lot of different people whose energy is fluctuating, it's very hard sometimes for activity to happen. I've found that sometimes you don't get as much activity the more people you have and the more random the energy is. Right? Yep. But yeah, if you have a group that are sort of well connected with each other, that you will have a better experience all around. I've had that experience myself.
Interestingly enough, you always get an awful lot of ghost activity near water.
Yes, water is a big conductor of energy. So
big conductor. You've got the Chillingham Burn runs in a ravine right beside the castle.
Wow.
And the other thing as well, it's interesting that, you know, the type of people who attend. I always tend to find that the water signs of the zodiac are the most receptive.
It's funny. I'm a fire sign, but I'm very, very perceptive. So, you know, but I think you're right in that term. I've often said that when I'm on an investigation, I find sometimes the most activity in particular places is in the bathroom, or in the kitchen, or near a well. And it's because there is this water source that conducts energy. We have, Ian, you may know this story. There is a inn in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario that's called the Oban Inn. And some of their activity is mostly centered in the bathroom.
I heard that, yes.
It's the weirdest thing, because the house was built in the 1800s by a gentleman who came from Oban, Scotland. And he built this home, and then they turned the house into, it's like a boutique hotel now. And so, but the activity tends to be in the bathroom. And interestingly enough, the current bathroom today obviously was not a bathroom in the 1800s, but it was the kitchen area of the house. So it's sort of a funny, funny that you mentioned that, but yes, water seems to, and as you said, you have the River Till nearby, you have the small creek or, you know, tributaries that run around the castle. I also think that just the building and construction of a building like this with the, you know, you had stonemasons on site, you had carpenters on site, you had these skilled laborers, you had general laborers, you have all of these people who have put their energy into constructing this building as well, right? So let me ask this question. Do you know of any of the spirits that are there that are not directly associated with the castle? Do some just like to pop in for a visit, or is it predominantly energy that you can plug into the castle itself?
No, we get occasionally errant ones that appear. They may be here now. I think what happens, they come with somebody.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
We've had this before. They've come along and then they've stayed for a while and then disappeared again. And the average time I tend to find that from them appearing and disappearing is 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. So they come, they sort of linger, hang out perhaps, and, you know, with the other spirits that are there, and then they just move on. Yeah, that's yeah, interesting.
The other one was remember the ghost photograph I showed you?
Yes, do you have that? Can you show that to us again?
I will just show you it again. Can you? If you
Yeah,
just
this everyone is phenomenal. Wait till you see this. This is amazing. I know when you showed it to us the last time, the ghost in the machine did not allow us to record it.
It's quite low res, but this is, we've got a name, Anna, Scottish soldier, and she died in the grounds of the castle, and she came along with William Wallace's lot.
Wow. Yeah, look at this, everyone. This is so, like, you can see the face, you can see like
face,
the hair, like it's
the knee, the lower legs, knees, perfect, even down to the tartan on the plaid. Now I'll just zoom the face.
It's pretty astounding.
Yeah, oh, that's giving me goosebumps again.
I know, it's so cool. Look at that.
This is low resolution of the face as well.
Still, it's really amazing. Like, what an amazing shot.
Yeah, and that was outside the castle. I saw this walking towards it, and it was incredible. This was through the archway.
Wow, that is so prominent. Wow, that is really neat. So whereabouts was that, in the courtyard here or outside of the castle?
Outside the castle. If you walked out of the front door and walked about 30 yards down the hill, you'll see the archway. It was through the archway, and I've had in that particular spot, I've had so much paranormal activity outside in that spot. It's unbelievable. Her name is Anna.
Anna, okay. Now, is this a structure or is it just an archway?
It's an archway that was just part of a wall.
Okay. So the wall is no longer there, but the archway still remains?
The archway is there. There's just part of a wall there, and then it leads into a wood.
So amazing.
Is that what they call the hanging trees?
The hanging trees. There are the hanging trees. If you are facing the wood, where I took that photograph, the hanging trees are right behind me.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So do you think that perhaps she's part of, as you said, like William Wallace's people that came in? What was there at that time? Was the archway there then?
The archway on the site originally was a monastery. And right next to that archway, there's some older stonework that would have certainly been there then.
Okay, wow.
Because it was the monastery manor house on the site. It would have been called Chelvingham back in those days, and became Chillingham later. The old name for it, I believe, is Keofell, which goes back a long time.
Wow. So
And
interesting.
but that encounter was amazing.
Mhm.
It wasn't taken on the. I moved it across to the phone, but it was taken on a DSLR camera, and it was there. It was seen, and it's one of the two best ghost images I've ever come
It's
across.
pretty amazing. It's
it's
really,
fantastic.
really clear, like fantastic. As I had mentioned previously on another show we had done too, we have a great deal of Scottish influx where in the region where we live, and my family are the Rosses and the Stewarts. You don't get much more Scottish than that.
No.
No. And we originally came to Nova Scotia, and then my grandfather came to Ontario for work. But I know that in our area where we are, we have Cayuga and a few different spots, but there's a house called Ruthven, and we did get some really amazing shots, very similar to that in the family cemetery of what we believe were children. Because as on the previous show, and we had mentioned on the show that we lost the previous show Richard was on, that a lot of the children had died in the family during the Spanish influenza in the sort of early part of 1914 to 1918. So these children were buried there, but we have some really neat shots like that too, of what appear to be like misty sort of small children. But that one is really, like, the detail is phenomenal in it. So like, kudos to getting that. I mean, how often are we able to capture those things, right? It's most often that even we don't see them, right? And sometimes these devices are able to pick these things up and assist us, but fascinating. I can't wait. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about the castle that we haven't discussed?
The other one, while we're on the talking about the outside of the castle, how about this one? This is going to give you all goosebumps. Halloween last year, that spot where that photograph was taken, and that photograph was taken a lot of years ago. We were down there close to midnight and doing some recording. And I says, "Oh, look, I'll just check something out with the rods." I went, "Oh, there's something here. There's something happening." So I got my PSB7 out and switched it on. And as soon as I switched it on, lady's voice, who I think was Anna, just went, "Stop."
Wow.
Okay, then. Why would you like us to stop? And how about this one? Being in the woods at night, pitch dark. And she says, "The others?" Like, okay. What do the others? What others? What do the others want? And she basically turned around and said, "Normality."
Wow. That's
Wow.
a strange word to use. I mean, in terms of, you would really have to stop and ponder what does that mean? Perhaps is the spirit world still in that upheaval from the time of William Wallace? Is it?
I don't know, but just on the other side of that archway, Nikki from the castle, who we were out maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was quite light, and we'd been having a wander past the hanging trees, etc. And I switched it on just outside of the other side of the arch, and Nikki asked, is there anybody around? And out of the PSB7, excuse me, wasn't a word. The response was, "There's loads of us." So,
oh, wow. But
wow.
It's not surprising, though, considering everything that's happened around the castle itself and the skirmishes and all of those things that have gone on. I mean, certainly people have died in and around the area. And so I'm always so fascinated when the other side can let us just in for a minute, just to give us a glimpse into the possibilities that are out there.
Indeed. I mean, at night time, you know, if you approach the castle, sometimes they have, you know, it's lit by flaming torches
Oh,
outside
wow.
and around the courtyard.
I love this place.
That's great.
And and when you approach it, it's like, wow, you could be walking up to this castle in the mid 1300s when it's like that.
And that's really what, for me, I say, like, blending all of my background, my archaeology, and all of the things that I do. When I step onto a site, it doesn't matter that it's, 1,000 years old or 200 years old or 50 years old. I'm always trying to envision what it was like at the time when it was first constructed. I want to know, what was the topography? What was the community like? Was there a community around? Where did they get the workers to build this, and where did they house them when they were building this, magnificent structure? I mean, where did people live? So there's all of these things, and of course, we really take life for granted, even in the time of the pandemic. I mean, we're so lucky that we have modern medicine, and we have the ability to, for the most part, stave off what, at this time period, you couldn't, right? So when you think about things like the Black Death and cholera and typhus and all of these, these things that could just come through and wipe out entire communities in a week or a day or a month, or, but I'm always so interested in the kind of everyday that happened, like all the workers. How many people died constructing this castle, I wonder? Like fell or were injured, or things like that. And it sounds a bit morbid and creepy, and it's like, why would you think about that? But all of that energy just goes back into the building, right? And that always fascinates me. I tend to live on the darker side of life, so those things just come to mind. It's just, I'm fascinated by it, because I think people don't realize how difficult life was at that time. That to build this building alone would have taken years and great effort by many people.
When you are actually at the castle and you're standing in that courtyard and you look around at the gigantic pieces of sandstone that are used in the construction, it's massively built. And you look at the height of it, you think that would have taken a lot of men, a long time, and it would have used, I mean, they didn't have any of the mechanical, really. They may have had
pulleys and levers, and some scaffold systems, but
scaffold.
by today's standards, pretty terrifying.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, there's this spirit that comes through from time to time, and his name is Simon, and he met his end whilst building the front face of the building, and in the around about 1600, and he fell off a ladder.
Yeah, and that's again, that it's really just those accidents that happen, right? Day-to-day life for Simon, coming to the job site and doing his job, and unfortunately circumstances had it that they he gets to stay at the castle forever.
Yes,
so interesting.
Yes, it's an absolutely amazing place. As I say, beautiful in the daytime. It's wonderful. The gardens, grounds, the whole area. It's lovely. At night, it puts on this other cloak.
I know, it's just, I can see it in just my mind's eye. And I know that that's not doing it justice. So I can't wait to be able to book and to come out and to stay and to be able to experience it. And how lucky are you that you have this amazing side gig outside of the radio station that you get to, spend your time in this building.
This, as I've said before, this is the holy grail of paranormal investigation sites.
Amazing.
To my mind, it's it's ever changing, people come from all over the world to experience this, and you need to experience Chillingham. It's some days it can be quieter than others, yes, but it's like a football match. You don't know what the outcome's going to be of an investigation until the final whistle sort of goes.
And that's
But
that's a fun thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely wonderful. But Chillingham gets hold of people. They come time and time and time again because there's nowhere else like it.
Yeah. And that's sort of the beauty of paranormal investigation, is that you can go to the same location multiple times and have multiple different experiences, right? It's never the same way twice ever at any location. But this one sounds like it's like you said, sort of the holy grail of sites. And I've been to a few really, really amazing sites, but I have not been to Chillingham. And it's very well suited, its name.
Chillingham.
Chillingham,
Yes,
it's, the haunted castle.
the haunted castle. Yes, it used to be once said, "Be gone from Chillingham by nightfall."
Wow.
But I work it the other way around.
Yes,
It
go
works
to
for me.
Chillingham at nightfall. That
Um,
would be me.
But after a while, as I said, the funny thing is, you tend to find that some of the spirits in there, they get used to you after a while, and you talk about them and you interact with them just like
Like
they're
you
old
do,
friends.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
your friends that are around you all the time, because they are around you all the time. And you
Yes,
get to know
yes.
each other. And yeah, and that's an interesting thing that I think a lot of the television shows leave out of the equation, because of course TV shows are made for shock value, right?
Mhm.
And I know, like with our show, we've often talked about this because it's not a very realistic portrayal of what kind of happens. And when you are on a site all the time, you do get very familiar with, and you do learn to understand what the spirits are, doing or asking or not doing on some certain days. And I think that is way more interesting than the sort of the quick scare, right? That sort of quick scare that you're looking for, right? That interaction that, we forget that these are still people. And I always say that to people when, we do public investigations. I tell people, first of all, do not scream and run. That is, for me, disrespectful to the spirits that are there. If you're afraid, then, come to myself or perhaps another, group leader that's there, and let them know, and we will escort you outside, or we'll talk you through it. But it's like, you wouldn't do that if you went into someone's home and met them, and you wouldn't scream and run, right? So it's just, have a certain amount of respect for the dead. They're not really dead, they're just not in physical form.
If they are earthbound, and most of the ones in Chillingham are,
Yes,
they may not actually know they've passed on.
that's it. I mean,
Now the thing is, I say to people, I says, the things you need for ghost hunting, paranormal investigation, call it what you will. If you start to have a connection with someone on the other side, I says, treat it as if you met them for the first time. I says, you need patience, respect. I says, be friendly, be polite. Please and thank you goes a long way in ghost hunting.
it sure does.
And I said, we want to know something about them. At the same time, they might want to know something about us. And
That's
I said,
right.
it's also very surprising, especially when we're using spirit boxes. I says, when you've got somewhere, ask if they know what your name is, if you haven't introduced yourself, or if you have any pets, what their names are. And people are astounded. There was a young chap the other day, he on about spirit boxes. I says, there you go have a word. He says, hello. He says, do you know what I'm called? And it went, Dylan, and that was his name.
Wow.
Straight away, the first 30 seconds. And then he turned around, he says, Dad, can I have one of these for Christmas? The spirit box was like, what, And I said, there's no gimmicks with the PSP 7. I said, I says, with an ovulus or something like that, it goes off a dictionary, and it's really,
It does, it
really luck of
does, yeah.
it's luck of the draw. I'm not a
Mhm.
fan of apps. I'm not a fan of apps because the thing is you know, if you're using a phone, that's kicking all sorts of energy around, and it can block a lot coming in. So the best thing to do is use a pure receiver, which is the likes of PSB 7, PSB 11, S box, Frank's box, something of that ilk, and you know, they work very, very well for me.
Yeah, even the simplest of objects, like because I myself don't often work with equipment because of my ability, I like the simpler things, like you were saying, like a divining rod set or a pendulum or a trigger object. I often, for my pendulum, I tend to use an old style, like an old Victorian, skeleton key on just a simple piece of string. And I feel, or watches are another one, like a pocket watch, those kinds of things. And it really depends on where you're going to, right? Because I think what most people don't realize is, like the spirits of Chillingham, for example, you are obviously spanning multiple different time periods. And, technology isn't something that, unless they've passed in the last 50 years, they're not really going to understand. So even though you say, see the light, I mean, they're always going to recognize that because there would have been a candle flame or a lamp flame, something to see. So if you say, look at that flickering light, they're going to recognize that. But if you've got some gadget that's like super, and you're like, oh, see that? Like, they're not going to know what that is. So I tend to like simpler things, and I leave the equipment up to guys like you guys who know what you're doing. Honestly, for me, I'd be like, I don't even know what this does. So, I think there's a place for everything. But I also think that if we're going to investigate a location, that we should do a little bit of research first too, and not bring things that aren't going to be familiar to a spirit that isn't, something that's passed in the last 100 years. I mean, if somebody's passed 800 years ago, they're certainly not going to have any idea what this is.
No.
It's like, no. So, be mindful of those things is always what I say. But yeah.
What I used to do, trigger object wise, what I used to take to the castle were coins.
Mhm.
I had coins going back to the reign of Edward I, going up to sort of James the Sixth, all around that sort of time. We used to put those in various places to act as trigger objects.
Yeah, because coins, people always, money is always something that's going to trigger somebody, right? Whether or not they were a layman or they were somebody of wealth. I mean, we all can associate, a coin with an object of importance to no matter what class of person you're trying to interact with. But good tips, Richard. I think that we probably got enough excellent information, and I'm going to split this into 2 shows, I think, because that way we can get the best of everything. Like I would love to split it into 2 separate shows, and we'll run them consecutively. I think, Ian, that would be a good idea. We can do like a chilling double header because you have so many amazing stories, and I don't want to just like pick and choose like, so I think what we'll do is we'll take it and we'll split it up and we'll do 2 shows. That'll be excellent. And then I'll give Nikki access to them so that she's got the information and she can use. I'll try and get, because my husband's the techie guy. He's the sound guy and the engineering guy. So he does all my editing for me. I don't do this stuff. I just talk and sit in front of the camera. I do this stuff when we're in the field. That's my.
Right, yeah.
He does all the equipment in the field, like Ian does, right? They're the tech guys. I am the walking magnet of the moment. But I so appreciate again you coming back on because, oh my gosh, like last week was just like what? Having an old age brain moment, I think was.
Oh no.
I was so excited to have you on the show. And that was really, like we've been talking about it for weeks since we found out that you had agreed to come on, and we were just like, oh my God, this is so much, because I've loved this castle for so long. So I think we all just got a little crazy in the moment, and maybe one of those tricky little spirits from the castle decided to to do something.
Very
Possible.
possibly. They follow me around all over the place, so
Good.
it's not surprising.
But that's fantastic. So we will, I'm hoping we get the show edited and ready to go by next week. Sunday is when we will release the show to the wild. In the meantime, I'll email Nikki and I'll let her know, and then I'll either upload to Google Drive or whatever works for her. I'll have a discussion with her on that. And we would love to have you back again in the new year after you do the
Anytime.
Halloween thing. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. I'm going to try to get there early next year sometime, like spring, when the weather is slightly more agreeable. I'm so busy I don't know what happened, but suddenly I got like ridiculously busy, and I'm busy right through November and into December now. So, and I'm traveling in November. I'm actually headed to the US in November for some stuff. So yeah, but I'm hoping, and I have to do Boleskine at the same time because I'm supposed to be going to Boleskine House and doing a whole, I'm preparing their historical tour for them, for the site. So I got to go there. I got to make a stop. So, but it's, North England, Scotland, it'll all be good. It'll all be good. I can brush up on my Gaelic. Oh,
Oh well, Gaelic. Well, it's yes. Well, bye for now. In Gaelic's Martianeth and Rask.
Yes, Martianly. Yeah. Martianly. I've taken a few rounds of Scottish Gaelic, and it is
right.
tough. It's a
tough.
tough language to wrangle. Yeah, to me,
Yes.
there's no rhyme or reason. I can speak fairly fluent Cantonese, but
Right.
when it comes to Gaelic, I'm just like, oh. And my teacher was from the Outer Hebrides. He's from just up near Oost, and so it was like, oh my goodness, it's just And I have a standing invitation to go there and to do some work on the wheelhouses there. So it may be a longer trip than I anticipate, but a fun one, I'm sure. So thank you so much again. Is there anything that you need from us or want us to close? We're going to close the show, so I thought we'll close the show. We'll do all that because we can edit, right? And I would love you to plug the castle again at the end and let folks know how they can contact the castle or get in touch with to arrange to hang out with you.
Yeah, with the castle, everything's done via the website. Nikki looks after an awful lot of the sort of the engagements there. So if you get in touch with Dickie at Chillingham.
Yeah. Okay. So let's close off the show, and if you can let us know what the website is for Chillingham, and that we can just make sure that gets in there on the end, and then that way people have some way to contact you, and then we'll just reiterate it at the end when Ian and I close. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the castle's sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Richard. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the castle's found, if I remember rightly, at www.chillinghamcastle.co.uk, and we have a section on there simply called Ghosts.
Nice, perfect. Awesome. So that's great. Yeah.
Yes. Follow the ghost link.
Follow the ghost link, everyone.
Follow the ghost link.
Yeah, and go and visit Richard at the castle.
Yes. And as I say, if you wish to book a private ghost hunt or event, if you inquire with Nikki, and she will do the rest for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the Ghost Show. We appreciate your time, your amazing stories, all of the fantastic experiences that you've had. And we look forward to having you back on the show again in the new year. And hopefully I can get over there and experience Chillingham Castle in the spring of 2023.
Yes, we'll look forward to that.
Thank you, Richard, again. And we appreciate you visiting us here at the Ghost Show.
Okay,
thank you, Richard.
Be on. Okay, thanks very much, Ian.
Excellent. So thank you, Richard. Okay.
Thank
you. So thanks for your time today again. And so you're off to the castle now, are you?
Right this very minute, yes.
Oh, excellent. All right.
In
Well,
the car, and then I'll hot foot it up, and we'll see what happens. And
do you live close
yes,
to the castle? Are you nearby or?
it's an hour from here.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, we best let you go then so that you can get there.
It's yeah. So I've got them starting at 7:45 tonight. So
Okay.
yes, I'll better
So
make some track.
we're getting there. You'll be able to get a little bit of dinner in before.
I'll get something, but I'll get it later on. I like to be on the ball. It's
Yes.
only a 2 hour thing tonight. So
All right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. And we're gonna split this into 2 shows so that way
Brilliant.
we can have all of the information.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. It's
All
been
right,
it's been a
Richard.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks very
Have
much. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Take care.
a
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now. Bye.
Bye-bye. So we would like to thank Richard, who has left us right now. He's off to Chillingham Castle this evening for some ghost hunting adventures, for joining us here on the Ghost Show. And we will be back next week. We have decided that our next show is going to be on Victorian seances. So that should be a really great show. And we look forward to you guys coming back and checking us out here at the Ghost Show. So I
Yep,
shall
and
Goodbye.
subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook.
theghostshowonline.com. We'll see you soon.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching The Ghost Show Online. Join your hosts again next week as they discuss more tales of the supernatural, the paranormal, and all things spectacular. See you soon. See you soon.
You can also visit our website at